Hey guys, welcome back to my garden. If you're new here, my name is Kira. Feel free to call me Q. And today is garden tour day. So this is I want to say it's the fourth garden tour of our spring series. I'm doing this by the weeks of spring. So I think it's the fourth tour, but maybe the fifth week of spring. I'll put all that on the screen if that's wrong. But I have a lot of new things to show you. We have been kind of slowly chipping away at adding more and more into the garden. Most of it is planted out at this point, but we still have a few things. But other things are also starting to grow, which is really exciting. So let's start at our normal spot up on our patio. The first thing I'm really excited to show you is our green stalks that we planted up yesterday in real time, but with the videos it'll be like, I think, a week or so apart. Anyway, we put a lot of really pretty petunias in here. This is the first time I've gotten starts to help fill out my green stalks, and I'm really happy with it. So in this one, which was my kind of like colder weather stuff, I put some different color petunias in here. We have some little nasturtiums. And here's a closer look at these. You can see we have some little Thumbelina zinnias here. This is the first time I'm growing these, so I'm excited to see what they look like. And then I just went in and filled everything that was not strawberries with some petunias. I also did get a couple more strawberries to add in. We got another 6-pack. So I'm just really loving this. I think it's so pretty. And then here's the other one. This one has more holes in it. You can see we have our nasturtium here, petunias down there. And then we had a few things that I left, like this is blue, I think it's dazzling blue kale. There's some cilantro right here. And there's a few empty pockets like this one. So I'm gonna come in here. I think I'm gonna start some basil inside maybe and play around with these. I might try more cilantro, see if it bolts or not in the shade. Our blackberry hedge, it's now as tall as me, and we're starting to get buds. So that's going to open up really soon and give us really beautiful white flowers, and then those are going to turn into blackberries. And I can't get over how big these leaves are. Like, they're just massive, way bigger than they were last year. So these canes look really healthy. Over here in our herb bed, I feel like everything just exploded in the last couple weeks, and it's looking super healthy and happy. So we have some thyme over here that has flowered, but we don't mind. We still use it just like this. This sage plant looks so happy, and this is cool. Our sage has never flowered before, but this plant is now, I think, 3 years old. We brought this with us from our old house and planted it here, and we've never had a flower, so I'm excited to see what happens with that. Even the rosemary back here has doubled in size, so I want to take some cuttings off of that and move it around. We have a bunch of green onion in here that's going to be moved. We absolutely love having this little herb bed right next to our house. It's really easy to come out here in all types of weather, whether it's really hot or cold in the wintertime, and come and just harvest herbs. So I really do recommend starting a little herb garden, whether it's like a couple pots or something like that next to your kitchen or your front door or whatever, because we've been really happy with ours. There is a little bit of cleanup that I have to do in here and pulling out weeds and stuff like that. But overall, it's been really fantastic. And all of these are perennial, which means we don't have to plant them over and over again. There are always things that I add to it, like this calendula plant right here, just because I wanted a little bit more color in it. Sometimes I'll throw like some basil starts in here, which are annual. But for the most part, this is a really great way to always have a little garden that really doesn't require much work from you. All right, here's a look at our apricot tree, and the fruit on this is doing really well. I mean, it's still loaded up with fruit. There are a lot of holes in the leaves, but overall, I mean, the tree looks still mostly healthy. I do see, now that I'm in here, I do see some yellowing and stuff like that. And it probably is time to fertilize this again. But this tree is bigger than it's been any other year. You can see here's more fruit. These are a little close together, so I'm gonna take this guy out. We like to measure the fruit spacing. Oh yeah, and then there's 2 right here. We like to measure the fruit spacing by just using our thumb and pinky. And basically anything that's in between that spacing, we take out. So I'm going to take out this guy right here. And then I'm going to take out the smaller one right here because those are going to compete. And that is a much better spacing for this branch right here. And then we have next to it our peach tree, which this is just so sad. It is still trying to produce, but I don't know. Some of the leaves are starting to get healthier, like these right here. This one looks good, but it has the leaf curl right next to it. So it is still trying, and I do see actually more healthy leaves on it than I did even a couple weeks ago. So hopefully this tree doesn't die and we can keep trying to rehab it. We'll see how it happens. The peaches that come off of this tree are really good though. And then next to the peach tree right there, we have our grape arch, which let me back up so you can see this thing in all of its glory. So there are two really mature grapevines over there. There's another one right there that's now a few years old, but we planted it there last year. And they have become friends. They're officially holding hands on this side. And so this whole thing is filled in and it's just kind of tendriling all over the place. It's really awesome. And I don't know if you can see this right here, but we're starting to get little grape clusters. They're popping up all over the place. There's another one, little guy right there. So yeah, this is when things get really exciting for this arch. It is noticeably cooler underneath here in the shade. I love this arch. This was Andrew's idea and I'm so glad we did this. And then at the base of this plant, we have our African daisies here. You can see that there's a lot of dead heads in here. They bloom for like a day or two and then they're done. And I have been throughout the last couple months trying to keep up with them and clipping them off, but it's starting to get away from me, and honestly I am okay with that. I do really love these, but if this is kind of where they're petering out over the season, I've thoroughly enjoyed them, and so I am very happy with it. And this is a perennial plant, so it'll come out next year. And then right next to it I put some these are daffodils that we planted on my birthday. None of these came up, although this is weird. This looks like these bloomed, but they didn't. I don't know what that's about, but these will hopefully keep growing and then multiply for next year also. Back in the back of this grape arch here, we have what I found out is Spanish lavender, and it's doing so well. We did not plant this here, but we have definitely been enjoying it. It has just exploded this year, so it's been really happy. There is a little, what is this? Lemon thyme, I think is what it is. We did plant that there. And then the grapes are all over the place. You can see there's a little grape cluster right there. So I'm going to put this guy back up to the trellis too. And then here, this is our Meyer lemon tree. This is an itty bitty guy that we had in a pot for a few years. And there is, what is this, bed straw? Ugh, it's so sticky and awful. I do hope to start clearing out a lot of this in the next week now that most of the garden is in, but we'll see. But this is a pretty healthy tree. I mean, it's doing really well. It hasn't flowered or anything yet, but honestly, I'm okay with that. I'm happy if it's just kind of living its life. Here is what is probably a Valencia orange tree. This is the one that we rehabbed last year. Super proud of it. We got a ton of fruit off of it, and it was flowering in the last tour, and now we have little oranges popping up everywhere. So that's exciting. There's another guy right there. It's pretty big actually. So yeah, pretty soon this thing will be covered in oranges if all goes well. We do still have some curling in the back there, but we've also had a ton of ladybugs. I don't see as many aphids as we did before. There are definitely still some, but we are hoping that that's kind of resolving itself slowly. And then this is our little clementine, our little cutie tree. You can see the flowers on here are starting to, the petals are starting to fall off, and then inside there, there's little, I almost said grapes, there's little oranges forming. And then you can see back here, so right there, that little green part, that's a little future cutie. In the back of our garden here, we have these 3 raspberry canes that we put in a couple weeks ago together. We have a video on that if you're interested. Ignore the mess back there, that will be gone soon. But we have little Raspberry flowers. I've actually never seen a raspberry flower before, so that's really cool. I had no idea they looked like that. And I noticed little flowers on all of them. So all three of them are starting to produce fruit, which is pretty awesome. So these raspberries are starting to look a little crispy on the edges, so I do think that they need a little bit of fertilizer, or they will soon. And also, we did mention in the video where we planted them that we weren't sure if this spot had too much sun exposure for them or not. And so this is a risk that we're taking trying to grow raspberries here. But I figure if people can grow them in rows in an open field, then there is a way to do this. We just have to figure it out. But overall, the plants have survived here for the last couple weeks. And so I'm hoping that they continue to survive, and then we can get them to the point where they're thriving. Then at the base of these, I planted out a couple like really small herbs just to have something out here. Eventually, there's a lot of grass, a lot of cleanup that's happening still. But with our projects, it's always just kind of like one piece at a time and then coming back for cleanup. Now for the main part of our garden. If you are new here, just to go over it really quick, we have 3 4x16 foot beds here, 3 4x8s in the middle, and then 3 more 4x16s on the other side. And so in this one, this is our garden that, or this is the bed that gets the most sun exposure. And I had some extra straw, so I decided to put it in here to see how that goes. And in the back here, I planted okra. These were some starts that really weren't doing well. I'll move over here so you can see this one. So you can see they haven't made it, but I did come out here, I want to say a week ago, and replant all of these holes with okra seeds. And so I'm hoping they will come up and replace the ones that aren't doing really well. I ended up just putting seeds in all of them, and I'm glad I did, because it looks like now all of these okra plants are pretty done. And then the other thing I did since the last tour is you can see extra rows here. These are all the peppers that I started. They are itty bitty, stunted, and puny, but they are so far surviving. So they've been out here for a few days, maybe a week, some of them. And I mean, so far they're making it. So that's all I can hope for. I ended up putting them throughout this whole bed, and there were a few that didn't make it. So there's like an empty hole right there now, but you can see some of these are gigantic, and those are actually pepper starts that I bought from a nursery and put in yesterday. We have a video on that too if you want to join us for that fun journey. But yeah, and then we have like some celosia, which I'm growing for the first time too. For these peppers, this one is let's see, this one is a bell boy. And I got YOLO Wonder. Here's a YOLO Wonder right here. I got some pepperoncinis or peppercinis, and then what is this one? Oh, this one's the bell boy too. And then look how pretty this celosia is. They have little red ones and little yellow ones. I couldn't really like separate them, and so I ended up planting the doubles kind of in the same hole, and I hope that's going to be okay. But that's so awesome. I'm really excited for these. And then also, almost a week ago, I replanted these trellises that didn't come up, so I put different things like Armenian cucumbers in the back here because they're really heat loving. So I'm hoping that they'll kind of help shade other parts of the garden. But we'll see if those come up now. Over here we have our Kentucky Wonder pole beans, which were the first starts to come up. And now something has been, chewing at them. And so I'm hoping that they just survive this transition. Look at that. And once they're big enough, it won't matter if something's eating them. Like this one, this guy's starting to get a little bigger, and they'll eventually be big enough to survive, but got a few holes on them. We have zinnias in the middle, sunflowers and zinnias in the middle back there. And then we have volunteer sunflowers everywhere. This is another trellis. This one was noodle beans that didn't come up, so I reseeded this one. Over here's where a lot of the volunteer sunflowers are actually. And this looks like actually some sort of squashy something. And there's 2 of them. So I'm gonna move those and see if they survive. I have no idea what those are though, because I didn't put those there. And then over here we had some bush beans. I think these were dragon tongue bush beans that I planted here from starts that I had, and they're doing okay. I mean, there's definitely, you can see some struggle on these leaves, but they're still here. So that's kind of all I hope for in my garden. Over here we have a really pretty teddy bear sunflower. I'm really excited for these. And then this is a kaboka squash. I had 2 seeds over here and they both germinated, and so I moved one over here, and it looks like so far it's still surviving. I mean, that stem looks something, oh yeah, something ate part of the stem, but it's weirdly still alive. I planted this here at least a week ago. I do get really excited about things like this teddy bear sunflower and the kaboka squash just because I've never grown them before. The teddy bear sunflower I actually tried to grow last year and none of them came up. I put a ton of them direct sowed into the garden and got nothing. And so this one, this little guy was one that I started, and so far that is working. But this is one of the things that I love doing in my garden, is just growing a couple things that I've never grown before, even if they're similar to other things. Like I grow a lot of sunflowers. I wouldn't say I'm great at growing sunflowers, but they're my favorite. I think I mentioned that on like every video. Sunflowers are my favorite flower. And I think the teddy bear sunflower is really pretty and kind of alien looking, and I think it's just cool. So I love that you can get that kind of variety when you grow things from seed, and you get to try something like this, or like a kaboka squash. I mean, I've eaten that before. Andrew really wanted this one so that we could have it for eating, but it's cool that I've never grown a squash that is this color before, and so I'm excited to see what it does. There's a whole bunch of other little volunteers down here too. Let me show you that. So I just noticed that right next to this little teddy bear sunflower, this is some sort of tomato that I did not plant here. And I have noticed that there's a couple tomato plants and things like that. So I'm going to move this little guy too, and we'll find out together what kind of tomato it is. Over on the other side of this trellis, here is another one of those celosia that we got. It's a yellow one. It's just really pretty. Down here, this is a butternut squash. I'm really excited for this one because last year I planted so many of these over and over and over again, and none of them came up. Or when they did come up at the end of the year, they just didn't do anything and it was too late. So I'm excited for that guy. I did plant another one over here, and I don't see it yet, but you know, there's a sunflower, there's a weed, there's something that probably looks like a sunflower zinnia. So we'll see what else we get. Over here we don't have anything yet either. This is the honey nut and what is it? Buttercup trellis. I replanted this one also. There's a little celosia there behind it that we just planted yesterday. Here our amaranth is starting to get bigger, which is really exciting. And we have a couple things like zinnias and sunflowers and different things. Most of these, some of these I put here, but most of them I didn't. I got a couple more little itty bitty peppers. Hope they make it. So right here, this is a volunteer tomato and a volunteer, what I think is a sunflower, right next to each other. So both of those guys are gonna move. But and then there's, because this is an amaranth that I did put here, and then there's what looks like another sort of flower. I don't actually know. Now that I'm looking at these, maybe they're like straw flowers or something. I don't know. And then all 3 of these are huge and they're all volunteers. And I think I'm going to keep one here just because I like it, but I'm probably going to move the other 2. And nothing has come up on this trellis yet. I forget what I put over here. Oh, I put an Armenian cucumbers over here. And then there's honey nut over there. So yeah, replanted those also, waiting for them. Over here, I have some peppers. I think this one is a pepperoncini, yeah, same deal. And then this is a sunflower. I think I did put this one here. Yeah, I did plant this one, and one of those. I did plant some of those, but all these other ones here you see, those are all volunteers. Here's a little tomato that's gonna have to move. I still want it, I just have to move it somewhere else where it can get support. And then down here I put in a bunch of little itty bitty peppers, and there's some volunteers down here. And then I also, oh look, this guy's bigger. There's my shadows in here. This guy is definitely bigger than what I put in. And then we got another pepper that I just bought and put over there. This one is oh, that's a pepperoncini. Someone did tell me in one of my older videos, I think it was when I was seed starting, how to say that correctly, and I'm saying both because I forgot. So please bear with me. In the back of this garden here, amongst all the weeds that have been enjoying their lives, I did put in a couple watermelon plants. So there's one here, there's one right there, and then I put another one over there, which isn't there anymore, so I think it died. So I'm gonna put another seed over there and have 3 in here. I actually started clearing this up the other day. You can see there's like a spot way in the back there, and then quickly had to go do something else, and so this is still on my to-do list. And right next to it, this is our little potato bed, potato pots. Every single one of them has potatoes in it now, which is really awesome. That blue one back there was empty, and so I came out here the other day to put more potatoes in it, and then I saw that it had sprouted, and it's kind of catching up to the other ones, which is really great. These middle beds right here, these are our 8-foot beds. Last year I used them as kind of like a cut flower garden with, I had a few tomatoes on the edges here where these T-posts were, and I'm still doing that, but they ended up with a lot more bush variety tomatoes in them this year, especially this bed. So what I decided to do was line the perimeter of the bed with bush tomatoes, bush variety tomatoes. So it's like Romas and golden nuggets, and there's another one that I forgot what it is, Glacier, I think what it is. And they've actually doubled in size since last week. They were way smaller than this. You could barely find them in here, and now everything is just starting to really get big and nice. And so the other benefit of that is I can see where the holes are now more clearly, and so I'm going to come out here with probably like basils or amaranths or something like that and just keep working on filling in the holes in the garden. On the end here we have some snapdragons from last year, and they are starting to flower. It's so pretty. And it looks like we got a good amount here, which I'm really excited for. You would not believe that I just pulled all the grass out of this bed like 3 or 4 days ago, and it's back. So this one, I have like cosmos in here, there's zinnias in here. I did end up putting, some more tomato plants. I had extra plants and empty spaces, so I put them in here. And these cosmos are trying to flower already, so I'm going to come and clip these guys so that they get bigger before they start flowering. Slowly but surely, it's happening. So these next 3 beds behind me, these are our kind of like winter transition beds. These are the ones where last year we didn't end up covering these, and we used them throughout the winter time, and so we were trying to grow kind of like our cooler weather crops in them. We're making room for the summer stuff just a little bit at a time, and so these beds aren't actually, they look full, but they're not full because I'm slowly taking all of this stuff out. So here's a great example of this on the end of this one. I have some calendula here, which I'm going to leave honestly for as long as they keep flowering. I have a snapdragon here that I planted, I want to say in the fall, and it just kind of sat here, and now it's kind of doing its own thing. But there's some like kales in here, there's some chard, here's a little carrot from one of the times I just came out here and threw carrot seeds everywhere. And some like, that's probably like a broccoli or something like that. And then right next to it I have the celosia that I planted yesterday. I have little pepper plants that I put in here the other day, and so it very much is a mix in here. On this trellis right here, this is another great example. I have an Armenian cucumber that I put on the end here. These are Kentucky Wonder pole beans mixed in with the garlic. That still needs a little bit of time. And then back here we had cilantro. This was actually really big and bushy, and we cut this, I want to say 2 days ago, for some dishes that we made. It was really good. And then on this end, I really love this end of it. We have some snow peas that are coming out pretty soon here. I might give them another week or so, as long as I don't need the space. And we have really beautiful calendula. There's an orange one and a yellow one. These were the same seed pack. This is new. Look at her. So pretty. And then back here, a couple weeks ago, I planted tomatoes and they have really just shot up in the last week too with our warmer weather. See this guy? This is like twice, 3 times the size it was last garden tour. Like I had to come in here and really work to find these things, and now they're so easy to spot, which is awesome. The one over there is still really little, but that gives you actually a really good idea. All of these other ones were that size like last week. So over here, I pulled out some really beautiful purple broccoli, harvested that. We got a little bit. We got like really small heads, which is fine. And I put in eggplant and then some peppers, another eggplant. And then here is what was our trap chard. And you can see now it is starting to put out really beautiful leaves. It's not getting quite as pest ridden as it was before, although, you know, they're still having a good time. Like something is still eating that. But this plant is way bigger than it was. And I'm just going to leave that right now. And over here, I pulled out actually a lot of stuff. I pulled out all of those Brussels sprouts that we had over here that they bolted. So I took them out. And, oh, I think this is a leek. So last year we had one leek that went to seed in this spot right here. And the reason we only had one was because in the springtime, when we had to fill up all these beds, the leeks weren't really doing very much. They were still super tiny, and I didn't think any of them would survive. And so we buried them all with compost, and one survived. One popped up through all of the new soil. And so we let it live. And yeah, it looks like it. Oh yeah, I see another one over here too. So we might get some like surprise leeks over here. That's really fun. I mean, I could be wrong. This could just be grass, but there was a leek growing in this exact spot. And oh, there's 3. Oh, this is fun. Wait, there's more. Okay, there's another one right here. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on this. Like I said, might be grass, but that would be fun if they were leeks. Over in this corner, we have a Cosmo right there. We have a dahlia that I grew from seed there, and then I put in a couple more of those starts yesterday. So there's another eggplant and a few peppers here. I think I put in 3. Yeah, there's 3 peppers there. And over here we have our snap peas. They're still doing really well. Or no, these are snow peas. These are the 2, I think 3 trellises. There's another one in front of me that's doing really well. This one you can see is taller than me now. So it is taller than 5'5.5", 5'6". So these plants haven't produced a ton, but you can see now, I mean, there's little pods everywhere and there's also flowers everywhere. So I do think that they're kind of doing their last hurrah here. But these are really beautiful. I love growing these. You can see there's more pods in there. Down here at the base of these snow peas, I put in a couple more peppers yesterday, and then I put in some celosia there. I really am not sure if they're supposed to grow together like that. I tried to separate them and it was just really difficult and I didn't want to break them. And then we have another snapdragon right here. I'm so excited for all these snapdragons to be coming in. And then more pea pods. And I planted tomatoes at the base of these trellises. I don't see them though. So they were here a couple days ago, but I think I might have to come back in and really look for them. So over on this trellis, I did take out the snap peas just because they weren't doing super well, and I planted in some little tomatoes. There's super sweet 100 cherry tomatoes. There's one right there. I thought there was one here, and then there's one in that little corner. I'm going to take out some of this sweet alyssum so that it's not shaded as much. And then I do have 3 tomatillo plants sitting right here. This is not where they're going to live. That's just where they are for right now. And then I have another snapdragon here. I'm really happy I decided to just like randomly put snapdragons everywhere because I think they're so pretty. And then we have another calendula. And at the base of it, we have more eggplants and peppers. I did try to put all of the eggplants near each other or like across the aisleway from each other in case they do need to be cross-pollinated. I don't think they do, but just in case. And then we have these. What are these? These are... This one is a bellboy, peperoncini, and then this one is, oh, this one's a YOLO Wonder. And then over here, we have another celosia right there next to this calendula that'll probably be coming out pretty soon here. Got another eggplant, a couple more peppers. There's other like cool weather things. I'm not exactly sure what these things are, but they are coming out pretty soon because they've all bolted. And I took out some other things that have bolted over here too already. One thing I don't think I show very often is these pansies. I don't think I've shown these before at all, actually. These are some of the very few pansies that we got this year, but they're chugging along. And then this actually looks kind of like an eggplant to me. Let's see what that is. And then there's a little marigold right there. One thing I recently decided that I want to do more of next year is I want to put more flowers kind of in a layer back behind my garlic, because with this garlic, I feel like there is just so much empty space in between them, and I love how they grow. But here I have this calendula plant that's actually like pretty, it's a good distance behind it, but it's like filled in this whole area, and I love how it looks. I love that it goes to the edge of the border or to the edge of the bed. I love that it's intermixed with this garlic, and so I think that's something I'm going to do next year, is get more calendula plants, and then also with my summer flowers, I'm just going to plant them behind it and hope that it kind of like fills in more of the empty space. Because here's what I mean. The garlic has its spacing, and this is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with this, but I really like what's happening here. There's still garlic growing underneath there. This plant, this flower isn't actually growing in the same spot as it at all. The flower is over here, but I love that they're growing together, and the garlic still looks healthy, and I think it's just more interesting to look at, all filled in like that. Next up on the tour, we have our snap peas. They are definitely on their last leg, and what I did about a couple weeks ago, I think, is I came in here and I put tomato plants. I planted Roma tomatoes underneath them. Let me find a good example. So you can see this little guy right there. That was significantly smaller actually when I put it in. So they've shot up in the last week too. There's another one over there. And I think I'm gonna take these out probably this week. They definitely are not producing as much as they were. We're not getting bowls of snap peas anymore. And so I'm happy to take all of this out and just let the tomatoes have this trellis now. Then at the end of this trellis, we have this little patch of snapdragons, which are really beautiful. There's like a pink one that's coming out now. That's new and pretty. And then there's like a peachy one back behind there, mixed in with all these weeds that we need to do something about. But yeah, look at this. And the next thing I've been just so excited to show you is this apple tree. Look at this. I mean, I can't even. That's so pretty. And then we have our little borage at the bottom. I planted some daffodils at the bottom here too, but I just can't get over this tree. This is a Honeycrisp. It was here when we moved here. We have another Honeycrisp that is a little bit behind this one. We actually moved it, and so we think that's why it's behind. It also gets a little more shade. And then we have a Gala that we planted that is starting to bloom also. But geez, guys, look at that. And then over here, starting to get completely taken over by weeds, which means I really need to do something about this now. Our blueberries are blueberrying. So that's awesome. This will be the first time we actually get blueberries off of these, because we took all the fruit off last year so that they could establish. But yeah, they're back here, and we just need to make sure that the weeds don't kill them. That is it for this week's garden tour. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, I would love to know what you're growing in your garden, whether it's a raised bed garden like this, a row garden, or pots on a patio. I would love to hear all about it. I'm so excited that we have another season to grow together, and I hope that you'll join me in my garden again soon. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.